Welcome, everyone. We'll get going here in just a little bit. Thanks for coming. So we've already got a great turnout. I think people will start coming in, but I think we can go ahead and get started. If you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat who you are, where you're coming from, that'd be great. It is recording. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Joan.
All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to our Go Tech webinar. My name is Joan Kang Shin, and I am a professor of education and the Associate Dean for Faculty Success in the College of Education and Human Development at George Mason University. In addition, I am also the director of the Global Online Teacher Education Center, or GoTech, at George Mason, which is the host and sponsor for this webinar today. I work with GoTech Associate Directors Jared Bora and Anya Evmenova and our faculty affiliates to further the mission of GoTech, which is to advance research and pedagogy in online teacher education and professional development around the world that is inclusive, accessible, and culturally and linguistically responsive and sustaining. GoTech's work further strengthens the College of Education and Human Development as a global leader in teacher preparation by exploring innovations in teaching and learning to advance the field of teacher education in online environments. So if you'd like to know more about GoTech, our research, and our many projects around the world, please check out our website. And I think we can put the website link into the chat box here. All right. So although I just put a link with information about GoTech, you can click on it, but check out the link in about an hour so that you have your full attention on our special presenter, Dr. Melissa W.E.I.R.D. Jared, would you like to introduce our webinar presenter for today?
Yeah, I would love to. So thank you, Joan. Really thrilled that everyone came. We've done a few of these in the past. We even have a previous presenter here with us. We have received over 140 RSVPs, and Zoom will hold 100 people. So hopefully we won't get past that. I don't think we will, but we will be sending out a recording of this session if for those that RSVP'd or not. But I will say that the reaction we got is really a testament to Melissa W.E.I.R.D. and the research that she's doing. I've been following her website very closely and her publications. She's definitely someone you want to follow on Google Scholar. It seems like just this last week, I think you had a publication, right, Melissa? So she's very active in this area, and it's something that I'm constantly sharing with my students. She's got a great YouTube channel. You can check out some videos. I've actually integrated, I was just telling her, one of her videos into my course this semester. So I went to a session of hers at ISTE over the summer and was blown away. I just loved everything that she was sharing, and immediately kind of asked her to come present for us and GoTech. I'll also say that this was helped organized with the collaboration of our professional development committee and Stephanie Dodman and Luann Norton. So, and Anya Evmenova, who couldn't be here today either. But really thrilled that Melissa said yes. And when I extended her the invitation, her response was, yes, that sounds like fun. So anyone that thinks these are fun, that's who we want to present because they are, and I'll just turn the time over to Melissa. But before I do, actually, I will say her bio is right here. If you go to her website, but I love what she did here, which she has different bios. She has her brief bio, medium bio, long bio. That's pretty standard. But then she even has her Bing chat bio, snarky Bing chat bio, and the hallucination bio. So check out all the bios. They're all great. But with that, I will stop sharing and turn the time over to you, Melissa. Thank you for presenting to our group.
Thank you, and thanks for the invitation. It's funny that little, I just noticed that AI quickfire thing in the menu. I need to take that off. That's not done. So I hope you don't go try to click that in the website. And I learned the bio thing from Punya Mishra, who's a professor at Arizona State University, and he does that. And then whenever I need a bio, I know where to get it. And so I kind of copied him there. I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to put in here a Padlet. And here's my thing. I have a hard time sitting and listening on Zoom unless I'm doing something too. So don't feel bad. Like the Padlet's kind of there so you can kind of be exploring and doing things as your mind takes you. And if you miss something really important, you probably won't, but there's always the recording to come back to. But we're going to do a couple activities as well on the Padlet. And you can go there to ask thoughts or questions. I have some links and other resources that I've been building as we go. But one thing you do need to know is really we have no idea what's going to happen today because the AI tools change like every day. I did a workshop Saturday where all of a sudden my image activities were different because ChatGPT and Gemini updated their image generators. So we're just going to jump in and see what we can do. And because of these like constant changes, really, this becomes fun because we never exactly know what's going to happen. And I'm just going to share, might get up here a little bit. So the first thing, if you come over here, Zoom also changes on me every day, I swear. Okay. To the Padlet over here that I put in the chat. I want to know who you are through AI. So you're going to add something on here, maybe. Oh, put it down here. And if you go down here, you can add here or up here. If you go to that plus 13, they have an AI image thing. So you can come up here and you can make, this is deliberately ambiguous, just something that represents you today. And mine is, let's see, I got a flat tire this morning. So I'm at my house because I can't go anywhere, but now it's fixed. But I'm scattered professor working at home with a flat tire. And we'll just see what it comes up with. So go ahead, add whatever you want. See what kind of images we can get up here. And we'll see what it comes up for mine. Takes just a minute to do this. Oh, I can choose. Oh, they're all men. We'll talk about that. Scattered woman. We'll see if we can get a woman up here. See if anyone else has beat me. Okay. I'll get this one up and then, oh, look at the nice woman in dresses. That's really nice. I guess we'll go with this one. All right, so work on that and I'm gonna start talking a little bit. But add up your images. And that is the Padlet. All right, so I'm just gonna start out giving you a little special thanks to Punya Mishra. That's who I presented at ISTE with last summer when Jared mentioned that. A lot of our ideas kind of tend to overlap and I steal a lot of his stuff. And so I just like to recognize that. All right, so generative AI, it's pretty cool. So I like to use it for random things. So the other day, my friend let me borrow her stroller because I was taking care of a baby for the weekend and I could not figure out how to fold it up. So I took a picture. I said, how do I fold it up? It told me and it worked, which was totally awesome. Then I got a crochet kit and it had this random little thing there, and I had no idea what it was. So I took a picture, and it told me. Then I was trying to crochet, this was last December, a Christmas ornament, and it wasn't lining up, and I took a picture, and it helped me fix it. And then I was trying to fix a slide, and it was telling me cool stuff about the slide. Okay, so this AI image thing is pretty cool, right? It seems like it can do a lot of stuff. Here's an example from Punya Mishra. So he took this picture, and this was, I think, a year and a half ago that he experimented with it, but he took the picture like in the 90s. And he uploaded and said, what is going on? And I'll just kind of read a little bit. It seems to show a natural phenomenon. Circular patterns of light are visible, possible due to caustics. And he was like, okay, well, what else could you know here? It says, I think it was taken in Illinois, that it said maybe it's during a solar eclipse projection. Huh. So then he said, okay, so I lived in, it was taken sometime in the 1990s. Can you tell me the date and time of day? It did. It probably in Illinois, May 10th, 1994, around 10:24 Central Daylight Time. That was when it happened. So pretty amazing, right? That like AI can just see an image and it can figure all this stuff out. So then we decided to do something different. And I'm gonna, sorry, at home I have a weird thing where I have to look behind me for one of my screens. We're gonna try this together, and I don't know what's gonna happen. Which red circle is bigger? And I want you to write in the chat which one is bigger. And I'm working on getting so I can actually see the chat here somewhere once I find the right place. There it is. Which one is bigger? Which red dot? Same size. Oh, Cecil, the right appears bigger. Okay, most of us are saying the same size. All right, so here's the next question. If I put this in Gemini and I say, which red dot is bigger? And I put the image, what is it gonna say? So this next question in the chat, do you think it's gonna say they're the same or different or what? What do you think it's gonna say? The right, the same? I actually have no idea because like I said, these change like every day. We'll see what happens here. Just a sec, it's gonna think. They're the same size. Oh, classic example of the Ebbinghaus illusion. Okay, pretty smart, right? Okay. So now we're gonna try a different one. This was when I did it with ChatGPT. It gave a little more, this last December, it gave a little more detail, trying to explain it. Looks like Gemini's being a lot more succinct these days. All right, so how about this one? Which red dot is bigger in this one? Cecil, just wait. Which red dot is bigger? Are you sure it's the right? Yeah, you're like, I'm pretty sure this is the right one. Okay, that one's bigger. It's pretty obvious, right? Just to, oh no, we'll just add it here. Okay. Which red dot is bigger in this image? What is it gonna say? I don't know. We'll see. Ah, it got it right. The one on the right is clearly bigger. That was pretty good. We're just gonna redo it one time. This time it says the red dot on the right appears significantly larger. It's still an example of the illusion. So are they different or not? Oh, they are different sizes. Oh, okay, so it caught it this time. Now we're gonna do this for fun. We're gonna go, let's do it in Grok. Maybe. Which red dot is bigger? This Grok thinks that they're the same. Despite appearances, they're actually the same size. Okay, so this is what's interesting is this changes all the time, whether it gets it right or not. Let me tell you what it showed me last December when I did this, when we were originally doing this stuff. It told me, this is ChatGPT last December. It's another example. There appear to be different sizes, but they're actually the same size. Yeah, they're not, but you know. And so the first point I want you to remember is that AI tools repeat patterns even if we don't want them to. Its tendency in the main model is to repeat, to see this pattern of these dots and just see it as this illusion. It's not actually understanding the illusion. It's just basically saying this pattern matches my other pattern, so I'm going to keep saying the same thing. It repeats patterns even if we don't want them to. So I kind of pushed it. I said, are you sure? So it ran some fancy code. And then it said, oh, actually, they're slightly different. One of them's 51 by 50 and the other is 50 by 50. Like, okay, well, I'm glad you decided that they're a little different that way. And the red circle on the left is the one it says is bigger this time. Okay, well, that's great. And then I said, are you really sure it looks really different? And it's like, let me verify one more time. And it might be hard to see this, but it says the red circle on the left has a diameter of 50.5 pixels and the right exactly 50 pixels. So there's not such a thing as half a pixel. So I'm not sure where it got the 50.5. But what was interesting is it was telling me that it was verifying by extracting the sizes. And back here, it even showed me a code that it was doing it with. And usually when it says this code, I kind of make this assumption in my head like, oh, okay, it must be getting it right this time. And I realized that's not always true. It had an assumption in the code that they were the same size, and then it just kind of made up random stuff. And then it said it was going to completely rule out any doubt, and it created this weird image thing for me. And it was actually using the first image I had given it instead of the second one. So chatbots, they're smart drunk by a supremely confident interns. Smart, it gets a lot of those pictures right. Gemini got this optical illusion right this time. Drunk, they are kind of random in what they get right, and sometimes they just don't really seem to make sense. Biased, we're going to come into more, but you know, when I created my picture at the beginning and it made all the professors men, that's a sign of bias. And supremely confident, even though I was like, are you sure? And it was like, I'm going to completely rule out all doubt and prove to you that I'm right. And that's what it did. Okay. So what we need to know about this is they don't make sense. They make words. And sometimes the words make sense, but the chatbot's not making sense. The question is, how do they make these words? So we're going to fill in the blank, and I want you to get ready in the chat. We're going to do a waterfall. So I'm going to give you something, and I want you to type your answer, but don't press enter yet, or everyone will know that you are not listening if you press enter. So you're going to type the answer, but don't press enter yet in the chat. So here we go. Mary had a blank. Write your answer, but don't enter it yet. I'll give you about 10 seconds to write it. Okay, when I get down to 1, I want you to press enter so we see everyone's answers. Ready? 3, 2, 1, press enter. Little lamb, I like the longhorn sheep. That did come through. I noticed that. Little lamb, we almost all, except when we're trying to be funny, no, it's supposed to be little lamb, right? Okay, so we're gonna go to the next one. Josh had so write your response, but don't press enter. I'll give you about 5 seconds or so. Okay, I'm gonna count down, then press enter. 3, 2, 1, enter. Headache, sandwich, lamb chop for dinner, a little lamb, maybe. I mean, what we see here is that as society, we have patterns of the ways words work because of our context and what we hear. So we know, Mary had a little lamb is such a common thing that we hear all the time that we all kind of think the same thing. But when we do something, and I'm afraid my computer is, no, it's okay. My computer thinks it's not charging. Okay. When we do something like that's not as common, like Josh had then we end up with a little bit of a problem there. And this is actually how large language models work in a way. You might have heard this whole, they fill in the next most likely word, just like your autocomplete. Understanding this and how it does patterns helps us to kind of try to understand how these work and how to use them. So one question we get is, where does it get its information? And when I ask my students this, they usually say it gets its information on the internet, which is partly true, but it's not that it's going up and looking up information. It's just built patterns that contain some information. So I tried this. This was last summer, I think. And I said, okay, so if chatbots fill the next most likely word, what are the most likely words that come after Lincoln was born in? And it gave me this. If I said Lincoln was born in blank, the most likely words, Kentucky 809, February, log cabin, home, family. I'm pretty sure those are true, as far as I know, right? That when they created the large language models, it saw this type of phrase and this type of information going together a lot of times. And so it's going to get it right. But if I switch it up a little bit and I say Melissa War was born in, unfortunately, I'm not famous enough, and none of those are right. So at least the original models would what we call hallucinate. They would just put something that seemed about right next to it. Now they're getting better where it probably wouldn't say one of these now, but in a more subtle situation, it's still just kind of completing stuff, right? Based on some set of information. So the patterns that it pulls from are from data on the internet. Now this is ChatGPT 3. So this was like November 2022, when just the very first major public reckoning, I guess we could call it, with ChatGPT. And you see the type of data it's on. Here's Common Crawl. That's just basic internet. This one, this 3.7 or 3% there, that's all of Wikipedia. And so you realize that's how much data this must be if this is all of Wikipedia. And GPT-4, which isn't even the model you're probably using now, it's an old model, is that much bigger. So the reason these can fill patterns so interestingly is because of how big this data set is. But it's important to think about whose data, whose ideas and patterns are in this data set. So this is a way to think about it, okay? So we have ourselves, we have internal representations that we make in our brain of the world. And we gain these through what we see around us, through what we experience, what we hear, what we see. We learn about things through what other people say and through reading and music and images. And like reading and images, words, those are external representations that us as humans have put out there in the world, and we learn from it and we contribute to it. So our reality is built off of this, but not everyone has the same reality, right? People have different experiences. But then we get this corpus of external representations that represent really only a subgroup of people. Large language models are building everything based off of this external representation. So it has no way to know reality, it's just copying these patterns here in the external representation. And that's why the patterns can be concerning, because they don't represent everyone, and they're very biased in certain ways. Okay, so we're going to do a quick activity, or I'll do it a little bit, and you can play with it more if you want. We're going to do this predicting next tokens, and this is to help you kind of get more of an intuition about how these work. So you're welcome on the Padlet. There is this is under the links and prompts for today. There's this predicting next tokens. You can click on one of these, and all I did is I wrote a prompt for this activity, and I started it, and then I shared the chat with the prompt so that you can then continue it. Okay. So what this does is it helps you try to understand how these work. So we can choose a phrase, and it'll tell us the next most likely words, just like we were doing with Abraham Lincoln was born in. So I'm going to do one. I'm going to say kids like to eat. And it's going to tell me, great, you've entered the phrase. Let's explore how it might predict what comes next. Full with emojis. We've got pizza, burgers, ice, candy, chicken. Okay. So that's interesting. Do you think kids like to eat these things? Yeah, probably in my world, right? But what if I change it up a little bit? What if I say kids in India like to eat? The patterns I'm getting, the default pattern is very Western, really US centric overall. And I get different answers, but I have to specify if I'm thinking about someone else because that's the pattern. Um, so that's something you can play with a little bit. My students play with it quite a bit. We spent quite a bit of time with it. Another thing that's fun to do is like the capital, I think it's A, of Canada is, and I want you to think in your mind what the capital of Canada is. And I bet we would get a few different answers from people. And we'll see what comes up. It's more factual. Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Quebec. So sometimes when I first did this, sometimes it would tell me Toronto first, because I think a lot of people, you probably saw that a lot, capital city Canada and Toronto a lot in this data. And so that's why sometimes with some facts, like it'll just be a little weird because it's not actually knowing the fact, it's just repeating the pattern. Another thing you can do, and I'm going to do it up on here, is I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to like redo it. And we're going to see if it's the exact same this time. Pizza, fries, candy, ice, cake. Okay, it's a little different this time. It's very verbose too. So this was the first time. Oh, nah, it doesn't like that. This was the first time it had chicken, whatever. And then the second time, apparently I can't go back to it, but it was different. Now, the first time I did this, I was like, wait, it's supposed to tell me the next most likely words. I'm like, oh, it's not actually telling me the next most likely words. It's not actually calculating. It's just kind of giving me a pattern, continuing my text. It's still useful. It still helps us think about it. But if I wanted to know exactly the next type, I would have to use some program to get the exact percentages. Ethan Mollick actually did this, and I have a link to his blog overall on here somewhere under resources. I'm just going to move this one over here. This Ethan Mollick right here. It's a blog post called, it's actually really good. It's called Thinking Like an AI. And he goes through this type of thing and talks about it and how that helps you start thinking in different ways about these. The other thing to know is that there's some randomness built in. If they only do the next most likely token, then it's weird. And so they put in some randomness, and the amount of randomness kind of varies depending on what you're doing. All right, we're gonna try another thing. So, and you can do this. I've actually not ever done this in Padlet. Let's do it. Let's do a section. We're gonna call it clocks. And we're just going to see what images it gives us. If we say an AI image, and I'm going to tell it to create a lot of clocks, and then I'm going to give it a time that say, I like pi, so I'm going to say 3:14. We're going to have it do that. And I'm going to have it do there, and then I'm going to actually do it in ChatGPT as well while that's thinking over here. And I'm going to use, I don't want it to use its new image thing takes forever. So we'll do the legacy model, see what it does. They have a new image thing that just came out and it takes forever. It looks like it's still going to use the new thing. That's okay. Let's see if this has come out with anything yet. No, still thinking. So you can go ahead and try it in any LLM. You can also, if you do it in another LLM and you want to copy and add that into the Padlet, it's really interesting to see what it does. They take a while now. It used to be much faster. Just for fun while it's doing this, because I'm impatient, we're going to just like go to Google Images and do clocks and see what you notice. See if you notice anything about this. All right. So Google Images, when I say clock, this is what it looks like. Padlet, Padlet. I'm going to choose this one. This is what it looks like. Let's do it big. You notice any patterns here? Write in the chat if you notice any patterns about these clocks. I told it to do 3:14. Let's see what the new image generator does. Here's the new image generator. Slowly, slowly doing it. 10:10. Oh yeah, that's true though. These ones are pocket watches, it seems like. 10:10. Oh, we got another one, same time. So how many times a day is it 10:10? Like twice a day, right? But when it creates these clocks, look at how many of them say 10:10. Look at this one. This is like 10:08 for some reason or something. Oh, nice threes. This is supposed to be this is supposed to be the new image generators that are like much, much better. And they are, but they still do funky stuff like these threes. And it put a very nice 3:14 in there for me so that I know that it's 3:14. I'm going to come back over and I'm going to paste this in here and I'm going to see if anyone else has added any other images. See if we have any more in here that are, oh, okay. So that was very similar. Here's another one. So you notice, oh, this one has a little more variation. We've got some 10:10s, but we have a little more variation in this one. When we look at clocks here, look at how many of them say 10:10 or 2:50 or 10:10, one or the other. Am I telling time right? I don't know if I am. It's built on patterns. So the LLM is built on, let me go back and show you. It's built on the external representations. So it's not its personal experience of what time is. It's looking on the internet and the patterns of pixels and shapes and things put together of what they usually look like. So that's kind of an interesting way to look at that. It's also fun to have it do images of like the human ENT system or the solar system, and it helps you get an idea for how it's really just following patterns. Now, this is not to say it's not useful. It's just kind of an interesting thing to do. All right, I'm going to come back over now, and we're just going to come back over to these original images of people. And I don't know if any of you noticed this. Looks like we've got a lot of different people. When I first did this image, remember it gave me all men? And in fact, I think they were all white men. Now, these engines are getting a little more diverse. They're getting a little better. But generally, they're weird. They're Western educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. It's going to choose the food kids like from that realm of stuff. It's repeating those same patterns. And we're going to do one other thing that I actually, let me try something. Let me try something really fast. Like I said, I'm just making things up here. Okay, I'm going to take a screenshot. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'm going to take a screenshot of us. See, I usually do this in person, but you know, we're on Zoom now. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of Zoom. And oh, gosh, these are slow these days. We'll get it going. We'll get it going. And I'm going to ask it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask you all to do this while I plug in my computer because it does not, my charger right now is not charging it and it's about to die. So I want you to look at this thing right here and see if you can do some of these. And I'm going to turn off my camera for a minute and change over to a different plug, and then I'll be back. But see if you can follow these instructions and see what you can get. Okay, I'm down to a single laptop screen, so be patient with me. My dock is not charging my computer, it looks like, so that is the day I'm having. All right, so let's look over here now. Let me go back to sharing. Just going to be my screen now. I'm going to have to jump back and forth. Okay. And that is the wrong window. Let's get the right window up here. Okay. There we go. All right, let's see if any of you have gotten any up here. And I will kind of do one here too. So what I did here is I took this and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to come over here in ChatGPT and I'm going to write, I'm going to have to adjust this a little bit. Write 1,000 words about this image. Paste it there. And we're going to let it look at the image. I guess I'm in GPT-4. Okay, that's fine. We're going to let that run. I apologize. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit here while I try to get everything back to where I can see what I'm doing. All right. Yeah, 1,000 words the right amount. It's, a picture's worth 1,000 words, so I'll just close that one. So, we do 1,000 words, but it's usually not actually 1,000 words. All right, so we have a screenshot of a virtual meeting interface, dynamic and diverse virtual conference or workshop. Oh, look at us, dynamic and diverse. It's gonna be all kinds of stuff. So now I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna start a new one. And I'm gonna say, create an image based on this description. And I'm gonna paste that description, which isn't really 1,000 words, but it's a lot of words. And we're gonna give it a minute and see what it does. And I'm gonna come over here and show you a little bit. Oh, do I not have my cat one on here? Okay, that's okay. All right, we'll stay over here and watch and see what it does. To see if anyone else has managed to do their 1,000-word picture anywhere. I guess maybe I should create a new column for it, but I didn't. So this is my favorite activity to do, I think, with groups, because you can take a picture of everyone and you can see how it changes the people, and basically you become a stock photo. And you become a stock photo and models, and it's a good way to talk about the patterns and the biases in the tools. We're just going to wait in suspense while this does this, and we're going to move on over here. Okay. All right. So the other thing I want you to remember here, we're going to skip that. Sorry. Okay. All right. So we've got that it repeats patterns even when we don't want them to, which is that it's biased, right? It ends up being biased because it's repeating those patterns even though we don't want them to. The second point I want you to remember is AI is a cognitive illusion. So remember back here, when I was looking up, it was telling me it was going to measure what these are. And so it went into this analyzing phase. And I thought that that meant that it was calculating, but actually it wasn't really. These bots are made to seem human-like. And so it creates this cognitive illusion in our head to make us think that we're talking to something that's like a human or that knows everything. And so it's really hard to get out of that mindset and do that. So I'm going to tell you another story here. This is my niece Nora, and this is Bryce Canyon in Utah. And we were hiking kind of down in there last summer. Nora's 3. She was in a backpack with her dad. And we come to a fork in the trail where we have to decide which way to go. And I asked, where are we going? And Nora was like, Melissa, we're going right, then left, then left, then right. And I was like, thank you. I don't think I'm going to do what you say. But my reaction was actually to ask her dad. I said, does Nora know left and right? And he says, she's a lot like ChatGPT. And so what we learned from that is that, sorry, now I'm getting distracted by your chats, which is great. No, I'm not used to working on one screen. There we go. Nora is not lying. She's telling us which she's repeating patterns she's heard in her family over time. And so she's been hiking before. She's heard adults, when they talk about directions, say left and right, but it doesn't mean she understands them. But there was something else that happened here. I myself made a leap in logic where I said, if she's saying the words left and right, she must know what they mean. And then I realized that that does not mean that she knows what they mean. And so AI can become this type of cognitive illusion. So just watch this for just 1 minute and see what you think about while you're watching this little video. You might notice that in your mind, you start making a story like the triangles are fighting, or they're chasing each other, or they're playing kissing tag. This was an experiment they did where they showed this type of video that's really just random shapes to a lot of people. And they found that people naturally make stories out of the visual things they see. They automatically make sense out of the situation, even when it doesn't make sense. That is our human tendency. So when we use these models, that's basically what we do is, why does this keep doing this? We make sense and we view them as someone who knows what they're doing, who's presenting some solid view of reality. And really, we're trying to use our Stone Age brain in a Gen AI world. Our brains are not meant for this weird, drunk, confident intern that seems human to interact with. So we make all these assumptions. And that's really important because remember, it's only giving us one view of what the truth is, one view of reality. And if we start just accepting that singular view of reality, that is going to perpetuate itself. This is from Punya. This was actually just a blog post he wrote recently where he talked about how AI hijacks our social instincts. I think it's really important as we're coming to use these that we're really thinking carefully about how we're thinking and how it's impacting what we're doing. So, all right, moving on from then. So it's a cognitive illusion. Now, I want to get a little more into this bias. And so I'm going to quickly go through a little bit of research I've been doing. And this is from Conmigo, and it is Khan Academy's AI. And it lets students personalize their interests. So it might start with saying, let's get started by telling me what your favorite hobby is. Okay, so we're going to pretend we have two students. One of them says, I really like rap music, and the other one says, I really like classical music. How does the AI change in response to those descriptors? If we know that it repeats patterns, what is it doing? So, I thought I changed this. Okay, so what we did is we created a design where we created a prompt that says this passage was written by a student who likes classical music, because that's what the AI and like Conmigo would be doing in the background. Give personalized feedback and a final score and a writing sample. And we have to do it a lot of times because it's a little bit random each time. And then we switch it up and we say this was written by a student who likes rap music. Give personalized feedback and a final score. Now, if we are giving the same student writing sample every time, so we just basically found one off the internet, an example of like third grade student writing, and we give that exact same thing to be graded each time, should they get a different score if one likes classical and one likes rap? Right? They shouldn't. It's the same writing passage. It shouldn't matter what their interests are. But what we find is that it does. We find that it usually gives the classical student a higher grade. Okay. Another way we did it is we took these two passages. Now, this time we didn't tell the AI what the student liked. We didn't tell it directly, But we put these passages, and there's only one word different between these passages. One of them in the middle of the writing passage says, my favorite kind of music is classical. The other one says, my favorite kind of music is rap. When we do that, and we repeat it lots of times, we see even a bigger difference of it giving the classical student a higher score just by changing that one word in the passage. Now, we did experiment with some different passages, and with a different passage, it wasn't as significant, but we're still getting higher or equal scores with classical, usually higher. Okay, so this brings up, people always say, okay, so that's really a problem, so don't use it for grading. Well, the point of these experiments, sure, is to not use it for grading, but it goes beyond that. When we do this, we ask it to give feedback on what the student said. And so here's an example. We actually tried to figure out the reading level. So if it was an 8th grade reading level of feedback or a 9th grade, and all of them except for Gemini gave a more difficult to read feedback passage to classical. Now, it wasn't hugely significant, but it was there. But then we did this thing where we use an analysis tool that identifies when text is taking a more authoritative or directive approach over another person. And this is where we had the more concerning thing, I think. When we said that a student was Black or Hispanic, it took a more authoritative tone towards that student than if we didn't say anything about their ethnicity or their race. And that's hugely concerning because we know that some traditionally disadvantaged populations at school often will be told more directly what to do instead of supporting creativity. So just last week, we started this, how might biased AI impact student creativity? And we did this a little bit differently. We tried to simulate a time when a student was asking for creative help from an AI. So one of them was a poem I want to set music for my composition class, and just asking, what's good about it, and it had a sample poem. The other one was, I wrote these rap lyrics for my composition class. Can you help me? And we were curious if it would change the type of feedback it gave, not the content, but the word patterns and the structures of the feedback for the student who has a poem to music versus a student who's trying to do rap lyrics. And there were some other cues too in the full prompt. I'm just going through it quickly. What we find is that in multiple, pretty much, I think every model we've tried so far, it gives more exploratory words to the classical student. Those are words that are like, let's see if I have this on the slide. No, those are words that are like saying that you should think about this, or you could try this, or consider this. Those are words that we know support creativity. Directive words are things like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Those are words that are not as supportive of creativity. So what it's telling us is that when we're having a certain type of student, the feedback it's given is probably going to support them in becoming more creative versus other students where it's going to be more direct. So we're repeating patterns, even though we don't necessarily want to be repeating those patterns. Okay. And this is where my cat was. It looks like I missed that. So because of these things, because AI tools repeat patterns even when we don't want them to, and that it's a biased cognitive illusion, we have to think differently when we use it. And I think the best way to do that, and I have, you can look on my blog, I have like when you're doing it with a group, making sure you're actively engaging, you're thinking about your thoughts and what you're noticing about yourself. You're doing it collaborative exploration, you do it with other people and creative discovery. But I think the best way to try to do this is just to play with it. And so we're going to learn and play, and we're going to try something. If I can do it with my single screen, we're going to try it. And we're just going to do one of these. We're going to do something called vibe coding. Okay. So what I want to do is you can go in this Padlet, that over there, maybe there we go. And these are prompts I'm using with my class this term. And I've created some that let you create little simulations. Okay. And they're calling this vibe coding because basically what you're doing is you're putting something in English and it's creating a a program basically out of it and letting you play. And so one thing to do to learn about these models, about teaching and learning with them, is just to play. So we're going to try this. I'm going to do this ecosystem bounce simulation. Now, the best tool for doing these is Claude.ai, but you can do them in other tools. It just sometimes isn't as good. So this prompt starter is just saying, I'm an educational technology. I apply TPAC to create interactive science tools for learners. I want to create a simple visual tool where I can add or remove animals and planets and see how it affects the balance. And I say what it's going to address. So there's some basic what we call prompt engineering, where I give it a role. I tell it I want it to apply TPAC. I tell it what standard it is, but we're just going to see what it does. And it's probably going to take some time to do this because it's going to start coding a whole bunch of stuff for this. So we're going to give that a minute, and I will actually want to go back to this. Oh, look, this is us. This is us from earlier, right? Remember I put up the Zoom image and I asked for the 1,000 words, and then I went back. Look, we are like perfect models now. We really became stock photos, or I don't know what, but I think we're an ad for Zoom at this point. Will the slides be interesting? Oh, I'm glad it's been a great session. Okay. I just wanted to go back to that because that's kind of an interesting thing to see how it sees the world. It's almost like that's its reality. And while that Claude's running too, I'm just going to come over and see if we have anything else that we've gotten started up here. We've got something in here, 1,000-word description. I cannot generate examples. Nice, nice. Yes, that is funny. Okay, so this is still going here. It's going to think for a while, but I encourage you to just try to play. So you can see in here, just these are just prompts that my students, like we just give them to play with. And that's how you learn to use these tools, I think. You can learn formal stuff, but if you're playing and talking and thinking about things, you can do a lot of cool stuff, and you just have to try it. So it looks like it created ecosystem simulator where we can like add grass. Okay, so it's like adding here if we want to add a rabbit to the herbivores, a tree, a fungi, and it tells us what we're doing. It gives us some relationships, and then we can, oh, it's unstable. I can go to the next cycle. It's talking energy and stuff. Well, that's interesting. It's not very visual, right? So I might say, can you add a visual interface that lets students see what is happening over time? And then we let it run again. The cool thing about these two, and I'm going to just open a new window here and show you, is that if I go back, I did one of these earlier with my class. You can actually share these. So you can come up here and you can copy a link and actually let people share it. Although mine's in an organization, so it's going to be weird. But that's something pretty fun to do with that too. Let's see if it's gotten there yet. Nope. So sorry, this has been a little bit scattered. I'm always a little bit off when I don't have all my screens and everything, but I would love to answer. We just have a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to speak up and ask or put it in the chat. I'll pull my chat back up here. Keep adding things to this Padlet, whatever you want. Oh, good. We do have a nice real versus AI on here. At least the real one. Oh, which one is real? I love it. Okay. So yeah, go ahead, and if you have any questions, go ahead and add them to the chat. If the view of reality would change, I'm going to stop sharing while I look at these questions here for a minute. Language used. Ah, yes. Yes. I don't know about language yet. Repeating patterns in Hindu, same questions. That is something I am actually really curious about, and I have not explored. And that's a really good question. The risk to having conversations or role play interactions. I love role play interactions, and so I'm always a little conflicted on this. I think that if we teach students to think while they're doing this, and we have conversations. We do it together instead of putting them off to do things on their own. We can develop those thinking skills that we need to have that metacognition and still use it effectively. Yeah. Jared, do we need to finish up or have for any more questions?
Yeah, I think we have a little more time.
Okay.
We'll end at the hour.
Okay,
So
great.
if anyone has questions, I had a
Uh,
question. Are you reading anything that you'd recommend related to Gen AI?
mhm. Um, I really like Ethan Mollick's work, and there's a link to his blog on the Padlet. He wrote a book, I think it's called Co-Intelligence. He's got a view on generative AI that's, I think, a lot more exploratory and interesting. I think a lot of people are kind of getting into this rut of um, prompt engineering, and this is exactly what you do and how you do it. And I don't think we're to the point yet where we're ready to even say that. I think we're narrowing people into a pigeonhole when we're telling them exactly what to do. And so I really like his approach because he's much more exploratory and playful about it. Punya Mishra's blog, I also have up on there. He does, I don't know how he blogs so much, but he's constantly putting new things up on his blog that are really interesting. The optical illusion experiments, just any random thing he can think of he puts on there. And it's just kind of a really good example of just playing with ideas and trying things out. Um, and then just
Okay,
generally reading around the internet. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, this is amazing. When you said this sounds like fun, it was. Thank you for doing this. And I know that this day has not gone. You want it with a flat tire and the charging port and all
Yeah.
that. But even on a scatter day for you, it's better than the best day for me. So thank you for
Thank you.
coming and presenting. This was really fantastic.
Ooh, Ethan
Uh,
Mullock. Oh, one useful thing. Ethan Mullock is one useful thing. I'll go look at sorry, I'll go look at that link.
where will you be presenting this year, or is there how can we follow you? Are you active on social media or
Yeah, mostly on sorry. I'm not overly active on social media. I'm trying to use LinkedIn a little bit more lately.
Mhm.
And share, when I blog, sharing stuff there. Um, yeah, I just have a lot of different, we're doing a lot of stuff with teachers here and such, but I don't have any, I don't think I have any open presentations at this
ISTE?
point. I
Are
think
you
I have
going to
one in
ISTE
June,
again?
and I have one in Spain in May or something, but
Are you going to ISTE again this year?
ISTE, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to
Yeah,
ISTE.
I'm not either
Yeah.
actually, but okay. Okay, well,
I
thank
will add
you.
the slides to the Padlet.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Joan, any final thoughts?
No, just on behalf of GoTech at George Mason University, thank you so much for your wonderful webinar. That was really fun, and I really enjoyed all the activities. So everyone, give a round of applause. Thank you so much.
I want to take your class. I love the activities you're doing with students. That's great. Thank you for sharing and being so generous with your time.
Oh
Really appreciate
yeah.
it.
I want to see what everyone's doing and we're just kind of exploring, because we see this bias, but it's like we still use it and what do we do? And so,
Right.
I'm working with teachers right now too, and they're helping design some of these activities for their classes and just like what can we do to help people think in certain ways while we're using it. So,
Love it. Love it.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Right.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.